I know. I've got the evidence.
Look at this. Which one do you want, Sonny? What colour do you fancy today?
I've got red, seeing it's closer.
Nice one. Let me just make sure everything's on. We are recording. Here with Sonny Edwards, one of the nice guys in boxing, one of the straight talkers.
Depends who you ask, really, doesn't it? Depends who you ask.
Elaborate on that, Sonny. Because I think I can get the same kind of reception as well, to be fair.
Because a friend to everyone's a friend to no one.
True.
And unfortunately,
I like that.
we're all at the circus doing the same thing. Eventually, there's going to be tension, there's going to be paths crossing, and everyone's got their own different visions and agendas. You can't be aligned with everyone's. We can't assimilate that perfectly.
No, I'll take that. Because I like that. It's the balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't want to be liked by everybody either, so we're on the same page.
Yeah, you got to. There's too many factions. There's too many different energies pulling in different directions to be aligned to too many at the same time.
Are we aligned, though?
I would think so. But at the same time, we're both here for boxing. So, of course, we're aligned. We're aligned by boxing.
We're aligned by boxing. Listen, I know you're here with your guy. Leo Atang, isn't it? Is that the correct way to pronounce
Leo
it?
Kambang Atang.
Talk to me about him. I've heard
What
about...
nickname pending? That's just the one I'm chucking at him right now.
Okay.
Nickname pending.
Nickname pending.
He hasn't settled on one.
Well, he's got a very firm handshake, which is always a good sign for me. I don't like weak, sloppy handshakes. He grabbed my hand with purpose, so that's always a good sign. Tell me about his boxing, because I've heard about him, but I've not seen anything of him.
A very good fighter, touted as the one to watch through his generation of the youths and the juniors. He travelled the world with England. He got onto Team GB as well, but decided that earlier rather than later that he wanted to start a journey in the pros. He's an athlete. He really is. Straight away, he's breaking all the best in-house scores of the boxing science, and who's worked with loads of fighters, hundreds of fighters at this point, and they're very pleased with how he's getting on, his progress already. He's 18 years old and only just really into it. He's a very young individual. He's 6'4". He's topping up about 103, 104 kilos at the moment, and a very, very bright future ahead of him. And I think not only can he box and move and he's got good reactions, he can generally take a shot and keep fighting. If he used to be in the ring with people far bigger than him. He was topping the scales at about 90, 91, fighting people 110 in European finals, and go and watch some of those fights from him in the amateurs. Yeah, very exciting career. Very, very exciting career.
May I ask, how did you get your hands on him? How did he come to your attention? I know you are boxing blood through and through, but how did you get your hands on him? Because I know what it's like now. With these prospects, everyone wants to get on him.
He's one of the smart ones.
Yeah.
So he gravitated.
Okay.
He gravitated to the right.
We're
right people.
We're selling Sonny Edwards today. Yeah.
I don't need to sell myself. I think my accolades,
speak for themselves.
I think I've been here for long enough that, if you think you know boxing and you don't know who I am, what I've done, what I'm doing, then you don't know much at all. So, I think Leo's in the right hands, in the right place. And bear in mind, his main manager isn't me, it's Anto Fitzpatrick, who was my main manager throughout the whole of my career. So he's got, for me, the Rolls Royce of boxing managers behind him, and what I can help him with. Look, I'm here today, representing him for his first press conference. I'll be in his corner come his debut. Can arrange sparring, can arrange camps, can organise paid sparring opportunities for him. Like, where my feet are in boxing, I've networked quite well over the last 20 years, so I can only extend that to my fighters, and that's what I try and do. I don't try and reinvent the wheel or tell Anto, who looked after me so well, how to suck eggs. That's his job. He'll make sure he gets everything he needs.
Talk to me about his style then, because I looked at him and I said, are you more like a Muhammad Ali heavyweight? And when I said that, I meant the size, because we've got some really huge guys at the moment, but we've also got some heavyweights that are lighter. So talk to me a little bit about his style, and has he got that size advantage because he's a lighter heavyweight?
Yeah, well, there's pros and cons for everything. I mean, look, who's the best heavyweight in the world right now, and probably arguably maybe of... Okay, maybe take away a few fighters, but one of the best of all time is Usyk, and he's 6'3", and he was a career cruiserweight who was just so good that he could come up and fight at heavyweight and do it so well. Look, Leo's a very, very young lad. How much more he grows in 12 months, I think he's put on over 10, 12 kilos or something. He's still growing at a rate, and where he will end up properly, we don't know yet. However, right now, he's fast, he's powerful, he can take a shot, he can get in and out, he can use his ring work, his ring IQ. He's very advanced, and where he, when he was age 14, 15, was competing at about 50, 55 kilos, he still relatively moves like someone that's smaller, because he started boxing when he was smaller. So he's got certain rhythms, certain movements that it would be hard for someone that walked into a gym at the size that Leo is now to ever get to. And I think that's what we usually see a lot of time in heavyweight division. You have the fighters that started when they were smaller, Tyson Fury. When they get bigger, they can still move to a certain degree like they was when they were smaller. And
True.
yeah, I think that's what's going to sum Leo up. And very nice kid as well. I think he'll get a big following. He's already doing really well with his tickets, and they're travelling from York to Manchester. I think he's already done over 350 in the space of a week or two, and yeah, really exciting times about Leo. I could sit and speak about him all day. He's a genuine talent.
I'm gonna catch up with him later, but I wanted like your words on him, first, because I look at him and then already I know it's down the line, but you kind of think of the heavyweights that are there. You start looking, and I'm already sizing him up with Moses, far away, 5 years away, who knows. But when you look and you're thinking, okay, let's see what he's got, because let's go back to Moses' performance on the weekend. Another cold, clean knockout. Once again, people moaning about the opponent, as they do, but I know he's difficult to match. I know that fights are getting turned down by people. People don't want to get in the ring with him.
People will be asking for more money to fight him than he's earning himself right now.
There you go.
And that's the reality, because whatever his contracts were to get him and get him so busy and get him pushed up, he'll be still moving at the pace of what they thought most of the time we're moving at, even though he's taking the Dempsey McKeans and winning probably ahead of himself already. But the people that are going to be fighting him are looking at him and thinking, nah, they're going to be wanting loads. So he's going to get stuck in this maybe for a little bit, and probably the only way he's going to break out of that is maybe a couple of fights against the British ones that we already know and have been built up. I don't know, like a Dave Allen or something. But even then, we probably won't see that fight, let's be real, because it does look in certain ways like Moses has already gone past that level. But
I hear that.
It's then hard to get a top competitor who could probably be going in to derail their whole career against a 20-year-old who might go down as one of the best heavyweights there's ever been, potentially. But why give him the chance now for this, where he's probably going to be there at any time over the next 5-10 years? That's what it's looking like right now. So I think he's just caught up in that. But
how long could he be caught up in that though, Sonny? Because it seems like a bit of a Bermuda Triangle for him. Because I get it, he pushed, he came through, getting the first few fights easier. Then you get there and it's almost like he's just clogged up in the toilet and he can't move. How do you get out of that? I know you mentioned potentially British fighters such as Dave Allen, etc.
Yeah, like a big domestic name, a couple of those will really build his commercial, and then once you bring your own commercial more, because don't get me wrong, as boxing fans, we all know who Moses Atama is. Now, people that kind of keep up with it have probably started to hear of him, but the general Joe public at the moment yet don't know him. But at this stage of AJ's career, everyone knew who he was. Do you know what I mean? So he's got to have some fights to bridge that gap, that then he becomes the biggest draw in the division, because then you hold all the chips, you pick the fights that you want, you pick where you want to fight, it all becomes on yours. Otherwise, he might have to be towing the line a little bit until he gets himself into a mandatory position where someone has to fight him, because if you're the heavyweight champion of the world right now, okay, he's probably not ready career-wise, but, and I'm not saying maybe not, because he might be, but from the looks of it, he's got everything he needs to maybe push all the way right to the top now. Will he be able to do it right now? Who knows? Does he need to find out right now? Probably not, though.
Okay.
He needs to find out when the time's ready for him. And look, he's got a good team around him. I'm sure they will deliver for him. But yeah, I think the more he builds up commercial, I don't know, fight against Dillian White, or just fights against people that have been there, been in the big shows, been in the big arenas, and can get more eyes outside of just the actual boxing fan. Because the actual number of proper boxing fans that watch everything, there's not that many around the world, do you know what I mean, compared to some other sports. So he needs to have the fights that break into the casual market to then be able to really headhunt, because then he'll be the biggest purse, he'll be the biggest payday.
Dillian White, you've mentioned there, he's a name that everybody seems to be calling out at the moment. We've had Fraser Clark, kind of Derek Chisora on behalf of Fraser Clark, call him out. Lawrence Okoli's been mouthing off as well. And then you potentially just mentioned him as a credible opponent to build with Moses Atama. You've been that fighter that you've got, well, obviously, you were a world champion, he wasn't. But when you talk about people knowing who you are, What's it like then for you as a fighter? Like, I'm looking from Dillian White's point of view, where people are starting to just look at you now as, yeah, you're a name, you're food. I want your name on my record. How is that for a fighter? And I always like to get into that side of it. He's sitting at home and he's seen it like, yo, you telling me you could now want Moses Atonement? It's like, are you taking the mick?
No,
like,
but it just means
cold
that.
hard facts, but
Yeah, but it just, to me, once you're in that boat, it means you've done something with your career. You've got to the point where, okay, now you are just a name that someone would see on a card. I mean, do you know how many fighters sat on a pro career and never get to that? They'd be crying for opportunities their whole life. They finally get one step up that's heading in the right direction. They don't get through it, and then they fail into obscurity and maybe on undercards here and there. Now, if you're a fighter that even if you've lost a couple of times or haven't had just complete perfect, but now they can book a venue, put you on as the headliner, even if it is against the next up-and-coming one, and everyone's coming out, that's where you need your career to be in that event. You're not always going to be the prospect. You're going to be the prospect until you're not the prospect no more. And now, there's only 2 people in the ring at a time, so it might seem personal, but every time they think of a fight, paying people, bringing all their teams over, there has to be a direction of it. And if you're not fresh prospect coming through, unbeaten, trying to do things that no one's ever done before, then at some point you're going to be an opponent. So you have to accept that it is the circus that we're in.
tough for you guys. And I always try and sit there and think about it from your point of view, because it's a hard game, it's an emotional game. And I guess if I was somebody that was trying to get to the top and then someone's like serving me up as food, I think I'd be a little bit, save one for a better word, pissed myself. So it's just getting that edge on it where, like I said, Dillian White's getting called out by everyone right now. It's like...
Yeah, but you can't take it personally, because it means you're doing something right. If they mention you, if they want to fight you, whether they think, okay, it's a low risk for a higher reward. Nigel Travis to groping me from beneath the curtain. I know there was no other single person.
Wow.
Imagine if he missed me though and got you.
Well,
he lined it up very well.
I might have known the difference still.
He lined it up very well. Yeah, but you would have got a different reaction.
I might not.
You'd have boxed him through there.
I'm a good girl. I don't fight. But why is the silence?
I don't know. I got sidetracked.
You got sidetracked. Listen, I want to talk about, you just mentioned Nigel Travis. Obviously, Dave Allen versus Johnny Fisher. Johnny Fisher versus Dave Allen too. I didn't see that coming, because I saw Dave Allen get on the scales, and I'll quite happily speak to Jamie Moore about it, and I thought, oh, he's not taking it serious again. Saw Johnny Fisher, like, proper serious, getting ready, like, there's no friends in this, I'm going for it. And look how that ended up. Talk to me about that fight, because I put my hands up. I thought Johnny was going to do it this time.
Yeah, I think Johnny probably, he really focused. He really wanted to make sure that he come through this. He probably put a lot of pressure on himself. I think on the fight week, I kind of picked up on the vibe that everything he was saying was almost like, getting the crowd behind him, or kind of almost like cliches, like, like sort of self-help affirmations of, yes, this is what we're going to do this time. Like, it just, I don't know, it just seemed like
robotic almost.
I wouldn't even say robotic. It was just like he was trying to presently feel and think about the positive, and he can do it. And I just picked on up a couple of times. I'd probably have to watch a few things back to really
Interesting.
But I think with Dave, it's just he come in with a lot of confidence. Now, after the first time, he probably thought he can't really. He put dangerous for a few rounds, but he can't really hurt me compared to what danger I've been in the ring with. So he came out first 3 rounds. He let him sort of wear himself out, throwing his punches. Then, as soon as he switched it, Johnny couldn't keep up. And fair play to Johnny, because he got hurt and rocked for about 45 seconds before the fight was over. Like, for me, his legs were completely gone for way before the damage started really sinking in. He got caught with a shot, and yeah, but Dave's always been there or thereabouts. And yeah, you're right. The question is, how is he prepared for the fight? And he looked in better shape for the first time. Definitely he did, but
just goes to show though,
his
Sonny.
face didn't look bad though. There's been times when it's been fight week and his face has looked a lot more fleshy. I think.
All right.
From what his face was and how he looked in a tracksuit, when I seen his belly and his weight, I was a bit surprised, like, because he looked like he had been taking it serious. So, like he said, and he was probably right. He trained very, very hard, so he put the work in. but he was just fueling up to a weight and eating to a weight that he thought, look, the bigger I am, and if I get heavier and stronger than him, if I'm going to hurt him, I'm going to hurt him and hurt him harder. And in some ways, he was definitely right, because Dave threw all those same shots the first time.
Yeah.
And didn't get him out of there. He hurt him, buzzed him a couple of times, but as soon as he let his hands go this time, that was hurting him. Do you know what I mean? Really hurting him, and yeah, it was a good performance, I thought, from Dave.
So what do you think happens if you was like managing Johnny Fisher, which you're not? I'm just saying hypothetically. What do you think he should do next?
I think give him a comeback fight. It depends where his ambitions are. I mean, he's still young enough and obviously and raw enough. Remember, he comes out of starting boxing from a rugby field in university, and in the space of 7-8 years, he's somehow got to the pinnacle. Okay, not world level, but headlining internationally broadcasted shows, fighting in and headlining arenas that their whole crowd are there for him. So he's still got
Like
such a fantastic foundation.
Going back to the Dillian White thing, it kind of crosses over.
Yeah,
yeah,
but
I hear that.
He's
He's
got
the name,
there.
isn't he?
And
He's a name.
now he could handpick his next 2-3, get a bit more experience, develop as a fighter a bit, learn his lessons, and then pick his next route to trying to see how far you can go it, just like everyone else. And I think what's happening sometimes though is a fighter gets put into a fight maybe a little bit too early, and now they might nearly win or just win, but then there's too many question marks, or they might lose or draw. We can think of a few examples now. But then what happens is everyone wants to see the rematch, and they get locked in, and then the guy with more experience now has a better camp, and now he's like a headline on this fight and had more notice. All of a sudden, you're coming out of the demons for the first time because it was your hardest fight. You've had easy fights since then. Now you're getting demons going through a camp already at this stage in your career where you're probably not the fighter that you need to be over 12 rounds to get through all of those. And then what usually happens in the rematch is the one with more experience, a bit more time now maybe than the first time, they come and upset the apple cart. No, I don't know how you could watch the first fight and heavily favour Johnny Fisher for the rematch. For me personally, I didn't understand how when I got down to fight week, and I can understand the want of it maybe, but I didn't understand the genuine belief that Johnny was going to win. Like, and I'm talking through the other fighters, other teams, managers, Matchroom staff. Like, it was just the sort of thing, oh no, Johnny will do it this time. But I didn't see it. I didn't see it. It was funny when we was doing the small talk. They had a barbershop quartet sing us the intro, and they made one. When we were rehearsing, they only did one for Johnny Fisher, and I went, "You lot better do one for Dave Allen as well." But I actually thought they weren't going to do it, and I thought, nah, it'd be funny actually. Sorry, Dave. These lot thought Johnny Fisher was going to win, so. But it was a bit mad to me. But at the same time,
a bit mad.
Oh, you know, they did do one for Dave.
Obviously.
They did, but it was like, it was Copper Bosch, you know what I mean? It was, when the home advantage, I guess.
Yeah.
Home advantage.
So what about Dave Allen then? What does he do next? Because yet again, Dillian White's name's popped up again, so I'm keeping my eye on the socials. What do you think about that? What should he do? Because we know what he's done.
But it's the heavyweight division, really, innit? It depends what fight comes out. He will always be a good addition to a heavyweight fight in the sense of name, reputation, and he can fight and he's tough. He never usually just gets blown out even by the best in the world. Do you know what I mean? He's always had that toughness. The reason why he's had the career he had getting on GB is because he could spar AJ and go to rounds with him when even if he was taking heavy knuckle. And Dave's a very, 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 very tough individual. He's never been a slouch for anyone, even when he's been getting in the ring. Clearly not even in fighting fitness, really, and he still had to go. So I don't know. You've got Dalton and you've got Dave Allen. You've even got Leo Atang. There's a few fighters all around now in that Yorkshire area. You put a few of them on the same cards. Them sort of fighters and right fights. World title for Dalton could be something. Another thing for Dave Allen. You're selling out the venue, and it's a great night of boxing for the area.
All right then. Let's talk about finally. I'm just going to talk about Catterall versus Eubank. Now, I always like to give my opinion as well because I'm honest. Jack cannot afford to start slow. We can't be having any slow starts this time, but you're the fighter. You tell me how you think that fight goes and how Jack, even how Harlem, should come into this.
Well, I think Jack's biggest problem in his last fight was that he didn't start slow. I think Jack's made a career of not doing more than he needs to and letting his opponents beat themselves, even when he was clearly maybe a level above them. He always stayed contained in the...
Why?
because that makes the highest probability and percentages of winning. If you don't give easy looks because you're not constantly looking for the next shot, if you're reacting to where they're putting themselves, making them fall short and then countering around the side of them, you can usually put yourself in 12 rounds, which Jack Catterall has done many times, 12 rounds of fights without taking a clean shot, really, because he's so good at doing it.
He's fluid, yes.
Against Arnold Barboza, who does move his feet a bit more, Jack was trying to push, trying to be impressive, trying to punch a bit harder, trying to like hurt him. And for the first time I've ever really seen in my career, the whole time in his career, that I've really seen, he fought more with a slight ego about his work, in my opinion, of one that I need to impress, I'm headlining, I should be beating this guy, he robbed Sean McComb. I just feel like there was that sort of energy about him. I might be wrong. But the Jack Catterall that I've always seen, and he's usually a fighter that I reference to other fighters to watch, because there's something that I like to do with my fighters, like to do with my style, from where you start your feet and what you do when they're reacting and where you go. And Jack, for me, does it exquisitely. He starts in the right place. Even if they're doing nothing, he's slightly adjusting, and when they come, he always makes the right step backwards first and then gets in the right place quicker than them with his feet, and then usually can punish them and then get off before they've even landed. In his last fight, he was the one coming forward. He was the one trying to throw the 1-2. He was the one trying
to... He's a back foot fighter, isn't he?
And because he's a back foot reactive fighter, going forward, one, his body and punches and his volume hasn't been geared towards that style for our whole career of it. And secondly, when he's getting there, when he's going forward, he's defensively reacting in microseconds to work coming forward. Some people are such good forward fighters because they don't really look or think about what their opponent's doing. When they go, they just go. But when you're a reactive fighter, you'll be doing the double jab right hand, but as you're getting to the right hand, they've started throwing back. So you've taken a bit of power out, you've started pulling away, and that's why he was getting caught, because when Barboza was ready to throw, he was reacting in his mind and his body.
You could see that.
And then he was getting caught in between two. He weren't just going unhinged and getting there and getting his feet down, even if he had to take a shot. Some fighters, how many times have we seen the ones that can just sort of walk down, take a shot, but when they get there, they throw as if they're hitting a bag. They don't throw as if they need to snatch it or need to rush it, because they're not reacting, they're just getting there and hitting a target.
Sonny, final question, and this ain't going to go out till later, and you can delete it. I don't even need to put this out. Was Josh Taylor playing with you when he tapped you on the head and he slapped you? Was that a joke? Because sometimes that could be seen as banter. Was that banter?
Nah, not at all. Without going into it too much, within 5 minutes of that, I got 2 apologies, and there will be one more I'll be getting.
Okay, then, listen, it's been a pleasure, as always.
Always.
Sonny Edwards, October Red. Until the next time.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.